Good afternoon. Yeah, that's good. Let me start with talking about the technology and how the technology evolution is happening. What we are beginning to see are, full force of technology and all the building blocks of the technology revolution coming together, which we believe will lead to an inflection point fairly soon. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One from Harish Manwani's guest column in the Marketing Whitebook, where he quotes NASA site actually saying that the computing power that you see in your mobile phone today, this computing power in your mobile phone today is more than the computing power that was used during the Apollo era when the man went to the moon. So you actually are carrying technology which is much more in your pocket today than what was there in 1969. I'll give you another example, which I read in this book. The book is by Mikio Kaku, and he talks about this greeting card. It's a birthday greeting card. It's got a small chip inside. I guess some of you would have got it on your birthdays, and when you open it, it actually sings for you, right? So he says that the chip inside this card has more computing power than all of the Allied forces in 1945. Yeah? Imagine we actually throw this away into the garbage after a few days. In 1945, you could have been killed by Churchill, Stalin, or Hitler to get access to this chip. So this is how far we've come in the technology evolution from the last few decades. So if a consumer is really living in this kind of environment which is going to change substantially, how do consumers versus corporates compare? And I actually wanted to highlight this because I think it has really changed in the recent past. So I'll take my own example. Piyush as the president of Nielsen India, and Piyush as a father of two children, as a consumer. Yeah. So Piyush as the president of Nielsen India does, I'm in many meetings through the day, a lot of conference calls with my teams in the US. So much time is spent, but a lot of that time is still through telephonic conference calls, is through linked meetings, but not so much of video is there yet in corporates. There is some. I do have some video conferencing. We have the facility in many offices, but it's still not there that much. Now I step aside and I come as Piyush, as the father of two kids. I have an iPhone 6, and I FaceTime regularly with my kids, especially when I'm traveling. In fact, most recently I was on the Emirates A380 flight from Dubai to New York, and I was having my dinner on the flight while my kids were having breakfast. And we connected over FaceTime, and we could have a meal together. So as a consumer, I am using so much more of video versus as a corporate. This is something very new. In the past, the technology used to come first to corporates and then to the consumer. And that has big implications on marketeers, because consumers are evolving faster, and we got to keep up and catch up with the consumers. So there is a section about what do marketeers do if consumers are getting so much connected, and especially with the technology that will continue to evolve and reach an inflection point. There's a nice section by Harish Bhatt in the Marketing Whitebook right at the end. It says the final word, and he says, the marketeers should make a dash for the future. And that dash is an acronym. D stands for digital, A stands for analytics, S stands for speed, and H stands for heed. And I'll give you an example for each one of them. So he's talking about, digital. All the marketers have to become digital. They have to become more digitally savvy. We are talking about 25 billion devices that will be connected in 2020. For a population of 8 billion, we'll have 25 billion connected devices. Imagine the amount of data that will come and what you could do in the digital world. So my point of view on digital is really that the marketeers have evolved. They started with doing some bit of top-up digital advertising because it was sexy. Then it moved into being an integrated campaign with everything you did. But it's still treated as digital advertising. And then on the side, you're seeing the e-commerce evolution happen. So now the marketers are trying to sell their product through e-commerce. But to them, these are two different worlds, one for digital advertising, the other one for selling your product. We believe that these two worlds will collide and will become one integrated world, where it'll be very difficult to distinguish between digital advertising versus what you're able to buy. Let me give you an example. So imagine if I am watching Kaun Banega Crorepati in a digital medium, and I like Amitabh Bachchan's shoes that he's wearing. I actually pause that video, I click on his shoes, I get all the details, and then I make the purchase. That's the environment that the consumers will live in not so distant future, and it'll have a big implication on marketers. Let's go to the second part, which is analytics. There will be so much of data that the marketers will be data rich and analytics poor. So they'll have to start thinking of how do I get more analytical insights, and even their whole profession, marketing profession, will take a quantitative turn in the future. So let me give you an example of a company we recently bought in the US. It's called Exilate. It's got a data management platform. It takes in 3,000 different sources of data, puts it together on the platform, and is able to offer that as an ad exchange and a digital medium for advertising. So what you could do, let's imagine Anurag surfing on carwale.com for an Audi A8. And the medium will actually be able to profile all the digital touch points that Anurag has had over the last few months, because he's been on various things in a digital way, is not able to identify that it's Anurag Batra, but is able to say that there are 10 such people right now on carwale.com, and they are searching for this kind of car. So it's actually personally or privacy compliant way of doing this. And then immediately, you could have Mercedes and BMW targeting Anurag with an ad of their latest launch. Now that's the world of analytics that is already there in some countries and will be there soon in India. And again, marketers will have to imbibe and welcome this kind of a change where they could take real-time decisions on their marketing campaigns. Let's go to the third one, which is around speed. Needless to say that a lot of things are moving in real time. And my favorite example is this campaign that started with Felix Baumgartner jumping for Red Bull with a mission to show that you can actually jump from 39 kilometers up in the sky, fall faster than the speed of sound at 1,300 kilometers an hour, and still survive. So when that project was being done, KitKat realized that there was an opportunity to leverage something like this that was happening in real time. So they made their campaign. They launched KitKat in ad space. They put a camera on an aircraft with the KitKat brand up there, and they showed the space as it went around in the ad. This was all done in 24 hours of the decision. So brand alignment, concept development, and execution happened in 24 hours. That is the speed that the marketers will have to live with in the future. Finally, it's about paying heed. So in this connected medium, in this connected world, consumers are pouring out, are expressing themselves, and it is so much for the marketeers to use that expression and build opportunities for their brands. There is so much that's out there. Even for protecting your brand, you've got to be listening to the consumers. I'll give you one small example. We were doing something on social listening for a breakfast cereal brand in India, and we found that the way the consumers were actually using cereals, they were mixing with their traditional snacks, like upma, like poha. They were adding flavors to it. When we took that information, the clients started that as their white space innovation. They got ideas on what consumers were already doing, and they started pre-packing those flavors as their brands. So this could be a huge opportunity for all the marketeers to actually look at that as the white space of innovation. So with that, Marketing Whitebook is a brilliant book with a lot of content. It's covering what I say E to E, end to end of connected consumer, but actually going 3 letters beyond. It is what I call H to H, which is Harish to Harish. It starts with a Harish Manwani guest column, and it ends with the final word from Harish Bhatt. I'm sure you're not going to only enjoy and have a great time reading the Marketing Whitebook, but I'm sure you'll have a great time connecting with the connected consumer. Thank you.